Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. During a deck check at a limited event, you find that Amy has 8 copies of Seven Dwarves in her main deck, which matches what she has registered on her deck list. When you ask Amy about this, she says that a judge told her that she could play however many copies of a card were in her pool, so she put them all in. Given that Amy is telling the truth, what is the appropriate infraction, penalty, and fix? Okay, so if this was a normal card like a Grizzly Bears, then there would be no problem at all. The 4 of rule does not apply to limited formats, and in general, your deck can include however many copies of a card as there are in your pool, just like the judge said. Unfortunately for Amy, and for the judge she asked, while the 4 of rule does not apply in limited, the abilities of cards still do. Seven Dwarves is very clear. You can have up to 7 copies. In constructed, this is an increase to the normal limit, but in limited, it's a decrease. If this were a regular rules enforcement event, then continuous construction would probably be in play. So I would just have Amy change her deck so that she is not playing too many, and maybe follow up with the judge that she talked to earlier. If the event uses deck lists, well, the situation gets a little bit more complicated. Having registered 8 copies of Seven Dwarves on her deck list would make that deck list illegal, just like if she had 5 copies of a normal card. This fits the definition of a deck list problem. In cases like the one described in the original problem statement, where the deck matches the illegal deck list, the fix is to remove cards in order to make it legal. In some cases, there might be multiple ways to do this, in which case the affected player would direct the changes. In the case described in the original problem statement, the deck list would be modified by moving one of the 7 dwarves to the sideboard. If Amy was playing 41, that would suffice to make the deck list legal. But if this takes her below the minimum deck size, we would bring her back up by adding her choice of a plains, island, swamp, mountain, or forest to her deck list. With the infraction and fix covered, that just leaves the penalty. In normal situations, any time a player's deck list needs to be modified, the accompanying penalty is a game loss. This is in keeping with the philosophy that such changes have a greater potential for the infracting player to gain an advantage. For instance, if a player had registered 16 sideboard cards, then the ability to defer deciding which one gets cut until partway through the tournament could disrupt the integrity of every match that player played before the infraction is caught. In this case, though, it seems that Amy was trying to follow the rules and only committed the infraction because of a miscommunication with the judge. In situations like this, the head judge has the authority to downgrade the penalty, and this is certainly something that I would do if a situation like this were to come up in an event that I was head judging. I guess there's one last loose end to tie up, which comes from the judge side of things. Obviously, as a judge, you never want to give a player unhelpful or wrong information, like what happened in this scenario. Of course, miscommunication is a fact of life, and it can be expected to happen some percentage of the time. Still, I think that it makes sense for the judge, in the interest of good customer service, to take proactive steps to minimize the potential that this could happen. One concept that helps out a lot with this is to try to understand not only what the player is asking, but why they're asking it. So, like if Amy asked the judge something like, "Can I play all of the cards that I drafted?" that would be a great time for the judge to ask for more information. On the surface, it's not really clear why this would even be a question at all, so it only makes sense that there must be some kind of unusual circumstances going on. Another concept that can help the judge in cases like these is format familiarity. For example, if Amy had phrased her question like, "If I drafted more than 4 copies of a card, could I play all of them?" then the previous concept wouldn't help, since that stands on its own, and it makes sense that a player might ask this if they had more than 4 copies of any card. If a judge was familiar enough with the format to recognize that Seven Dwarves was a card that existed, that the player would be incentivized to draft lots of copies of, then the judge would be in a better position to answer this question helpfully. But that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling, but until then, I hope you have a great day.